Welcome. Thanks for being here with me today. Since we are live on YouTube, I wanted to give a few moments to give people a chance to join and listen to what I have to say about what's going on collectively and individually in 2020, and about how we can no longer look at things simply as an individual factor any longer. What's going on collectively is so much in our faces that it is impossible to ignore. Now, some people will say, well, I've turned off the news. Open up your window and you can smell the news, particularly if you're in the West here with me. You have mandated masks. You might have a mandated vaccine coming up, things of that nature, things that if you want to operate in society, that is pretty much a mandatory requirement in a way that you can't ignore any longer. So I woke up this morning and I was thinking about some of the questions that many of you have been asking me. And when humans are in the midst of a giant transformation, particularly in the midst of pain or tragedy, or mass collective illness, pandemics, world shifts, and changes of this nature, one of the many questions you ask me go along the lines of, why did God let this happen? I'm getting that question. Why is this happening to me is another question. Another question that I get from you often is this the apocalypse? Is this the end of the world? Those questions are all standard questions that are actually automatic responses that are more conditioned from the mind to be a part of your general questioning when you feel unsafe. So that is the standard response from a child. When a child is unsafe, she will look up to her mother and she will say, "Mommy, is it okay? Are we okay? Why is this happening?" So you do the same thing with God. Pardon me. I had some dairy this morning because I ran out of almond milk in my tea, and it's been a bad idea. Luckily, this class I went black in my tea with, but I cannot do dairy anymore. It's becoming really apparent. And so hopefully I can clear it really quickly with you. So I wanted you to kind of tap into the understanding that question, although a very common question based upon conditions that we've had since childhood, that condition of be afraid, be unsafe, everything is unsafe, is where that conditioned question comes from. And it happens in the face of tragedy. And they say that both individually and collectively, we're told that the deepest components of our character arise in the face of tragedy and how we handle tragedy. So I'm going to encourage you and inspire you today, even though you feel that you're in the throes of a very deep potential tragedy. I just want to give you a perspective of what's actually going on in the divine thread of consciousness. In the divine thread of consciousness. If you consider what's going on as a massive tapestry, you individually are weaving, the thread of God through that divine tapestry. And each and every one of you have a purpose. This is the most powerful transformative shift that I have ever seen. 2020 is the most powerful shift that I've ever seen in any lifetime, in this lifetime that I'm in today, and in any of the millions of lifetimes that I can remember, right? So the power that we have to co-create collectively is what is being tested right now. Not just, well, this is how I individually feel, so I'm going to retract myself from society and, not wear a mask and not take the vaccine and not serve people and just shut down and go live in the middle of nowhere and be untouched by humankind. Okay, many of you have been doing that. Not to say that that's good or bad or right or wrong. I'm not a judger of that, and neither should you be. However, what's going on in the shift of 2020 right now is that you each are co-creatively designing something. The power that we have in 2020 to create collectively is the deepest, most profound mystery that you can possibly become aware of and tap into. So, all the things that I discuss as a mystery school teacher with my students every single day, this is the thread of that consciousness. And it's exciting, but you haven't experienced it before. And the brain, when the mind is presented with something that it hasn't experienced before, it tends to go, oh no, be afraid, right? So this connection, this profound mystery that everyone's trying to wrap their brains around is this mystical thread of source. And the truth of this mystical collective transformation is almost incomprehensible when you attempt to approach it and grasp it and understand it from your minds. So one way that you can approach these crises going on right now is to understand that this requires each of your unique creative gifts of service, Lightworkers, each of your unique creative gifts of service. In order to transform the world in this shift of 2020, we need every single one of you. So I don't want to hear it anymore when you come to me and you say, I don't have any spiritual gifts. That couldn't be further from the truth. If you limit your perspective and perception of spiritual gift to only be clairvoyance, clairaudience, seeing and hearing something allegedly outside of you, then that's going to be some way that you block yourself from tapping into this powerful mystery and transformation in 2020. So you need to relearn and undo all those conditions that tell you gifts are this and gifts are that, and tap into your gifts at a more natural level in the way that they are naturally occurring in your day-to-day lives. So this is an incredible act of trust, and this is an incredible act of compassion. This is the most incredible act of compassionate service that you are providing with and for each other. You can no longer ignore this call for healing. You can no longer ignore this collective call for transformation. And Earth has made that so. And our souls are rising like the phoenix from the ashes, and the world, the world's literally on fire. We're erupting with everything that's no longer in service energetically to this new earth is erupting into either energetic flames or literal flames. So it can no longer be ignored. We are now intimately connected to each other. I got that message today when a very close friend of mine called me and showed me her medical report, and she had just went to the ER with a lot of pain, and she was covered, in tumors. And I could just, I didn't feel her pain. I didn't feel her fear. I felt her strength. I felt her choice to say, I want to stay here, and I can no longer ignore. This is everywhere in my system. And I felt the same message that I shared with her is the same message that I want to share to you today. This is a clearing, and you need to collectively decide and individually decide that you choose life. And when you do that, the call for healing is apparent. You are here. This is happening in 2020. You are here to walk each other home. This is why I'm here with my friend. This is why she is here with her kids. This is why we are here with each other. This is going to invigorate a passion within you, unlike any passion that you have ever felt or experienced before. And you are now intimately connected to each other in ways that you can no longer deny. Whether you like that feeling or not, it's time to get used to the feeling of being interconnected, interdependent, and deeply in love with each other. You understand what I'm saying? So you are here to walk each other home. The final stages of this shift, and you're here to walk each other home. You are each other's best friends, lovers, mothers, fathers, sons, everything. It doesn't matter the role. You are now each other's caretakers. That was the message that I got from Yeshua this morning about why this is happening. He said, you are each other's caretakers. This is why. To walk each other home. Okay? So consider that each time you feel the grand distraction that collective and individual ego has for you, and whether that grand distraction will be like, one of your best friends, is sick, whether that grand distraction is, someone just passed, the grief of that, whether that grand distraction is, look around you, look at what's going, the absolute trite that's shared all over the airways right now, all over the internet and the news, but not, the news that you see, not just the news that you're thinking about. I'm talking about from even Lightworkers that you see sharing fear all over the internet. I'm going to give you a different perspective on that. You need to stay in your own truth, and you need to understand that you can be, how can I say this? Really in your grace powerfully. I call this grace on fire. One of my friends, her name is Grace, actually. She started a, what do you call it? A nonprofit, and she raises funds to support people literally going and finding. She hires detectives and works with police and all sorts of things to find children who are in the deepest levels of darkness, in the sex trafficking. And she, her role, she has so much grace. She's so powerfully in her grace, is that she can run this and get people together to find these missing children who are, involved in the sex trafficking situations. And she, the last time I talked to her, she had saved more than 100 children from it, probably doubled by this time, because it's been a while since I've talked to her. So you can find her at the One World community, if that's your cause. It's called One World community on Facebook. She has a group. Let her know that I sent you if you feel like it, so she'll know where you're coming from. Her name is Grace. She lost her son, which is one of the hardest things that you could possibly do and experience, is a loss of a child or a loss of a partner. It's just so hard. And she developed, because of this loss, and even prior to this loss, but especially thereafter, this incredible passion began to arise from her. And she began to use this cause to really help the situation, as opposed to being like, oh my gosh, look at all the vile, disgusting, dark crap going on. She used grace to be incredibly strong, and like a phoenix rising from the ashes. She began to heal her life and to become like a literal savior for this situation. So the reason why I'm sharing this story with you and about grace today is because I want to teach you that you need to have a certain divine strength to be able to hold grace and stay mentally sane. Here's how that lands when you look at that and you hear all the stuff coming from the conspirituality movement. Do you guys know what that is? You guys have been following that and it's been scaring you a little bit? If that's the truth, you can't handle that darkness. You are not in the strength of grace to handle certain levels of darkness, and you need to become apparently aware of when your strength is aligned and strong enough to be in that darkness and when it's not. And when it's not, you need to pull back and work on compassion and work on your lives and work on yourselves, as opposed to tossing yourself into a lot of the dark things that you see in the con-spirituality movements right now. They're telling you all sorts of things like cannibalism is happening with children, in high places. They tell you things that's, I don't even want to debate upon if it's true or not. I want to debate upon if that's really your purpose or not. We have tons of people who are walking in that fire. Our purposes are like that of a Chinese dragon. Have you guys ever seen that? I discussed this in my class called the 7 Archetypes of Ascension. Okay. And one of the things that one of my guides works with me with, her name is Dolores, and she said, there's 7 different purposes and 7 different archetypes, 7 different missions, 7 different types of gifts and alignments that you all have. Some of you are going to be at the front of that Chinese dragon like warriors, just going for the darkness and just attacking it and engulfing it and taking it in and digesting it and transmuting it into something, right? Into something. And others of you are meant to be on the bottom of the dragon. You're like the meditators, the peacemakers, lifting this divine consciousness into peace and harmony. And, the warriors at the front lines come to you to be able to keep doing their jobs. But peacemakers, meditators, those of you already experiencing 5th dimension, you're meant to stay in compassion. And when a warrior comes to you and says, you don't care because you're not putting all your efforts and attention into sending energy to the children that are being in sex trafficking circles, and you don't care because you're turning the other way, that is not your truth. Do not fall for that. That's called spiritual shaming. And it will only make the situation worse, because then the front line and the back line are not working together. You see what I mean? Front line, do your job and understand that that's not everybody's job. Don't come to me or others and say, well, for the purposes of awareness, we all need to throw the shit in the world that's happening in your face and burn you with that fire. Nope. It would be like walking into a monastery and handing machine guns to monks. Do you see what I'm saying? We all have our roles. I'm not a frontliner. I'm not a backliner either. I'm the middle. I hold up the middle path. I'm the middle of that Chinese dragon, right? So no more spiritual elitism, no more spiritual shaming, trying to collectively interlace and interlock your gifts together to work like the Chinese dragon, moving like this together. One just as important as the other, working together, walking each other home. That's why you're here right now. Okay? You're walking each other home. You are each other's caretakers, walking each other through these pains. These are birthing pains of society. All right? I can answer your questions for a few minutes, if you like. Anything that you have in your hearts today? From Beatrice, she asked, I've been feeling sick. Is it because of this? Well, it could be. A lot of people are working out a lot of healers and light workers are working out some of their deepest issues right now in 2020. Me included. Really, I'm not outside of that absolutely at all. So light workers, I want you to understand that when your body is working through something, it's a gauge, it's a measuring device. So I had to tell my friend, the friend that came to me today to tell me that something's really, really wrong in the body. She said, what did I manifest? Why did I manifest this? It's one of her first questions to me. And I'm going to tell you what I told her, because it's just really something that is a part of sort of the spiritual shaming and spiritual elitism that goes on in today's society, when it is taught that when your body is ill, there is something wrong with your spiritual path, and that you have manifest something because, of some negative situation. The body is a measuring device of what you're manifesting, not just consciously, but more than half of the time, you are unconsciously manifesting something because of a contract in spirit. This contract was made before you even decided to take upon the tool that you call body. So to shame yourself about that when you don't even understand the contract itself is a little beside the point. But if you look at things in a bird's eye view, if you just kind of look at the situation, and I want you to understand what prayer, meditation, affirmations, and mantra actually does. What are the spiritual, what's the spiritual framework of that? What does that actually do? I'm sorry, I drank dairy. I'm trying to clear it still. I'll learn. I gotta go get some coconut milk today. The framework of how the universe works is not you did good, therefore you're healthy. You're on the right spiritual path, therefore your body is well. It's not actually true. The body is a measuring device for what you are attempting to integrate for yourself and for the collective. So you could be the most emotionally integrated, pure soul, and your contract could still be integrate and help and serve within your own body, the collective, whether it be the small collective around you, whether it be your children, whether it be your partner, whether it be tons of, like we were talking today, the children in the sex trafficking situations. Okay. So depending upon your accessibility to the technology of grace and how strong you are in that grace, as light workers, you might actually get sicker for a little while. And that's what 2020 is about, is removing that shame and understanding that your bodies are actually pushing something through as you are walking each other home. Your bodies are transmuting, not just for you, but for others simultaneously. So that teaching that's out there, whatever and whoever is telling you that you manifested something because you're not in alignment with the highest and best, is incredibly shaming. It is spiritual elitism at its finest, and it is not accurate. Okay? It is not a gauge for where you are spiritually. It is a gauge for how strong you are in your grace. I find that when I really look at all the enlightened yogis who have passed form from this planet, every single one of them got sick at the end. Every single one of them, whether they were public or private about it, got sick at some point. And I've noticed that the sicker they were, the more powerful their contracts were as healers and light workers. Where's home? In here. Home is the new creation of what new earth looks like right here. Home isn't looking up into the stars and just going somewhere else. It's not up on a star somewhere. It's here. So check out my video called The 411 on Ascension, and it describes a unique perspective about Ascension being like the stacking nesting dolls, that everything was inside all along. Okay, check out that video and you'll understand what I mean. Okay. How do we improve the sleep issues? That's a very physical thing. So most light workers right now are experiencing something called Restless Leg Syndrome. You may be consciously aware that your legs are a little twitchy, or you just want to move your legs and you don't know why you want to move your legs, or you just, maybe just now you're coming to that realization of, oh my God, when I wake up, I kind of move my legs. That's kind of something that Edgar Cayce's been bringing about powerfully with me as a medium when I talk to him. It's just in the deeper levels of our awareness together. I've been working with Edgar Cayce really strongly about addressing updates and giving newer remedies that are more applicable to healers, light workers of all varieties. Just about everybody is listening today is a light worker, and you feel that, right? So restless leg syndrome is an over stimulation of the nervous system. So you need to take away the stimulants in the nervous system. Now, I'm sorry, healers, primarily that's caffeine. So some of you can no longer have it. Some of you can only have it. I can have it like once a day in the morning. And if I have it any more than that, I'm a disaster at nighttime. And I don't like to admit it, but it is what it is. So I know you can use a lot of different tools that could tone down the energy, like humming before you go to sleep. Humming is a lot like oming. So instead of saying om and listening to that vibration, you say hum, and then put your teeth together on the M. Hum yourself to sleep. There's many techniques that Edgar Cayce shares and will be sharing in the Healer Heal Thyself class and channeling coming up on September the 27th. You're more than welcome to sign up for that if you want some updated remedies. That he's really concerned about Lightworkers and how the physical and mental bodies are being affected. So again, that one's on September the 27th, and you can sign up for that at PamelaAaralyn.com. All right. You need to get into routine, though, to settle down the nervous system, and you need to keep it that way. So for those of you who are having overstimulated nervous systems and not sleeping or waking up in the middle of the night, when you wake up in the middle of the night, it could also be a spiritual call to meditate. Those are the most auspicious times. And energetically speaking, those are the most powerful times to meditate for yourself and for the world. Okay. Oh, yeah. One of you just said, I like to know a little of what's going on in the shift, but I don't like to know the details. It hurts my heart and affects me deeply. Then you are aware of where you are in grace. There are different types of grace. In the technology of grace, what I've observed is there's this grace on fire, powerfully strong type of grace. And then there's a softer, compassionate mother, divine mother type of grace. And those are two very different technologies. They work hand in hand, but the softer, compassionate type of grace is not meant to tap into the strength of the phoenix. Okay? And you can transform into the other type of grace if you want. Everything's possible. But when you're in the stages of compassionate grace, it's a subtle whisper of spirit that you're operating within. Not the type of grace that's, shouting something from a megaphone. That's something else. You're not meant to be front line, so don't shame yourselves for it. Be where you are and be who you are. Okay, I'm not seeing a lot of questions. I'm going to scroll up a little bit. How can we best be in the moment of pain and difficulties, but at the same time acknowledging our power and being in the moment of now to help us reach our full abilities and purpose in life? That's a loaded question, but I can start by saying, be aware of the caretaking that you require towards yourselves. So for instance, my deepest pain right now is my strength is walking loved ones through the hardest things like grief and loss and cancers. And that's my strength, right? But what I need to work on is applying that compassion and that caretaking towards myself and asking when I need people to do caretaking for me. Like right now, my body's telling me that. What I'm physically struggling with as a healer is plantar fasciitis, and I ignored it when it was in one foot, and this happened like almost a year ago. And then when it happened in another foot, and now I can't walk in both feet, if I do want to walk anywhere far, I have to use a walking boot, and my doctor's trying to talk me into surgery. in both feet. So, and in that midst of that, trying to stay out of pain, there were a bunch of like steroid drugs involved, which made me gain like 80 pounds, and all sorts of stuff started happening until I began to really stop, get off my feet, put my feet up, put ice on my feet, really ask, what do I need for caretaking? What is it going to require? You know, what is it that I need to do to become my caretaker and to ask others to become caretakers for me as well? And that has been the strongest lesson and the hardest thing for me to learn from, right? The hardest thing for me to learn from. So many people in spiritual communities will say, no, no, don't get surgery. Don't take meds. Don't take chemo if you have cancer. Don't eat meat. Don't drink alcohol. Don't. That is another form of spiritual elitism and spiritual shaming that tells you not to utilize medical technologies when you're in the deepest pain. And if you're in my position and you've done everything spiritually and emotionally that you can possibly, and you put a year into it like I did, with all remedies, naturally, emotionally, you've gone to shamans, you've done your tapping, you've done everything, and it's still there. Sometimes you require the modern technologies, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it doesn't mean you're not evolved. It doesn't mean you're not spiritual. Again, go back to the beginning portions of this class to understand what it means when your body is using you. Your body is a gauge for what you need to do spiritually. That's all that it is. I need to become my best caretaker, and I need to allow others to become caretakers for me. And I still haven't done it. That's the only reason why it's happening. So in that way, I'm doing that, and I'm working through no longer being the shock absorber for my friends and family and for everything. Like, I can be the shock absorber, but not in ways that don't let me take care of myself. It's the hardest thing. Like when one of your closest friends comes to you and they're like, I have cancer all over my body, and what do I do? And my first instinct is, I'm getting in the car. You're 6 hours away. I don't care. I will be there. And my friend isn't actually saying yes because she knows it won't work for my body. And it's the hardest thing in the world for both of us, right? Right. So learning to say no, like even to your loved ones, like I'm the one offering, and she's like, she's not saying yes. She's not jumping on that. But she, much like me, is likely going to have a surgery or two. In my case, two. And not shaming yourself about that and understanding the true nature of what you're going through without really looking at that and attaching that to something being spiritually wrong or you being spiritually unevolved is one of the deepest lessons as well. Okay, so that's another thing that's going to be coming about that. So many people are offering me so many different treatments. Scalar energy. Yes, I've done it 5 days straight with someone. Even before one of my close friends offered to do it for me, I had already done it. Let's see, what have we done? We've done corticosteroid shots. We've done tapping, both EFT and SFT. We've done, oh my gosh, a boot, a brace. We've done inner child work. We've done Yana, I think is what it's called. I had somebody in India do that type of prayer for me. It's a very sacred thing. It was beautiful. I got a lot of help for that. Yes, I've done the ice packs. I've done heat in little sand packs. I've done ice dipping, Wim Hof stuff. Oh, and it comes to the point where you just understand that when you are one of the most powerful healers, that you are doing things on behalf of the collective. So it wasn't just me being a shock absorber for my friends and family. I'm a shock absorber for the world. So my feet are saying, okay, sit down and write a book. There's so many different things, different little things coming about that have nothing to do with a broken emotion or something that requires an integration. So Shadow Workers is going to really challenge you, but I've actually done my work. All of it. Yes. Yes. The only thing I need to learn now is how to best caretake for myself and ask for help from others. Yeah. Um, yeah, I've watched all the videos. I appreciate your advice about different videos I should watch. And I've done so many um, over the counter and behind the counter and with no counter and everything. I've thrown the kitchen sink at this, guys. Everything that you could possibly tell me about plantar fasciitis, I either know, have tried, have done, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Sometimes you're just healers for the world. And this is a part of me helping others understand what caretaking means and what it looks like and what it doesn't. Right? So casserole packs, yes, I've absolutely done it. I've absolutely done it. And Edgar Cayce actually saved my life with really bad anemia multiple times with his updated remedies that we're going to be talking about in his class and trans channeling on September 27th. He talks not just about casserole packs, but he gave me an updated remedy for hypothyroidism. You guys want it? I have 4 remedies that are updated that he's given for hypothyroidism, and I'm going to give you one today. Are you excited? He healed my hypothyroidism. It's true. I just got my blood test back, and I was told I would always have it. And I don't. My thyroid is great. He also healed my kidneys. I was told that I had extreme chronic kidney disease, and his remedies helped that as well. Right. Have I asked Jesus about my feet? Yes, Trudy. Guys, I've done it all. Blood sugar levels cure. I don't advise for cures. I'm not a doctor. And when we talk about cures, I like to use the word remedy because a cure depends upon a lot of things. And on YouTube, you get a giant wrist slap if you use the word cure, because I'm not a doctor. I'm not medically licensed to treat or diagnose. So what I do is I offer a remedy, and it's strictly from talking to Edgar Cayce in spirit. I have no affiliation with the ARE. Okay. He did give me a little code, though, that I'm supposed to tell them. And I told one of them a long time ago. There's somebody else I'm supposed to tell. He gave me a little code is the best way I can tell you that when I talk to people at ARE that they will actually listen and know that it's him. So he told me that there's like only a few people in the world that have that code. So we'll see. We'll see. I shared it with one of them and got an interesting response. And it wasn't a no. They didn't tell me that it was wrong. So that was good. They also told me they want to talk to me more, but it was just like an email. So I don't know who on earth I ended up talking to and what they had to do with anything. And ultimately, they just tried to talk me into getting a subscription for ARE, which I completely don't need because I talked to Edgar Cayce in spirit. So hyperthyroidism, this is what he told me for the updated remedy. He said, and this helped me a lot, really, my thyroid levels are above normal. I was really, really shocked. I did both the allopathic test and a test that my naturopathic doctor here in town works with. And both of them came back really good. So 1 tablespoon of spirits of camphor. So that's like the camphor liquidized. So 1 tablespoon spirits of camphor, 1 tablespoon spirits of turpentine, half a tablespoon of benzoin, 1 tablespoon of rapeseed. Now that's not grape, that's RAPESEED. He wants you to massage that from the base of your spine to the base of your brain. Now, it used to be, he told me that it used to be the base of the brain to the base of the spine, but he switched that for a unique reason for Lightworkers and where you are today collectively in your genetics. Okay. Yes, Gretchen, I've taped the foot. I've worn, yeah, I've done all that. It wasn't, taping's weird. I mean, I tried it for a couple of days and got no, and you can't, getting the tape right it's ridiculously hard. That's another thing. So what he told me to do also is that has to happen after a bath full of 4 cups of magnesium flakes. 4 cups of magnesium flakes. Okay. While I'm in the bath, I took wash rags and I put camphorol on them and I held them actually over my liver area. There was something about the liver with this, and I've done this many times for other reasons as well. And I just held it there. And I also put a towel underneath my spine, and it was soaked with camphor oil. I'm sorry, not camphor, castor oil. So castor oil towel in the tub that covers your spine, lay on it, get in there with 4 cups of magnesium flakes, then put a washcloth or tea rag or whatever you have soaked with the castor oil and hold it over your liver. When you get out, you are to massage or get a massage from the base of your spine to the base of your brain. ARE people, I know that he used to say the opposite, but there's a specific reason now that he's doing it different. And then this partially new remedy, 1 tablespoon of spirits of camphor, 1 tablespoon of spirits of turpentine, half tablespoon of benzoin, and half a tablespoon of rapeseed oil. Mix it together. That's your massage oil. You're also going to make a hot pack of the very same formula of oil and place on the liver oil, and then wrap it with something. This has to be hot heat. So you can put a heat pack over it. He wants it to be dry heat instead of wet heat, but he wants you to make a hot pack of this oil and then put heat over it, okay? And cover with, he likes heating pad, or you can use a hot rag and then saran wrap. There's many ways you can do it, but he wants you to hold that over your liver for at least 30 minutes when you get done with the tub and the massage, and just lie there. That's it. So you're going to be doing this once a week, and you're going to start to get improvement by 5 weeks. So it's really, really different. No, Epsom salt is not the same as magnesium flakes. It can be twice as powerful. All right. So he told me a lot about hypothyroidism that I wrote down for you today. Some of it's always apparent as per the work that he always has shared with you, but he says it's an imbalance of chemicals in the blood based upon an excess of potassium and a deficiency of the right type of iodine. We've been getting so much information about iodine. And he's not really a supplement person anymore. He wants you to eat it from food. And you can, depending upon where you live, harvest your own kelp or just go buy it. So I know it takes a lot of kelp, but it's about the way that it's prepared. So automodine, which is what he still prefers, is a way where iodine is prepared. And it's really the only supplement that he recommends still to this very day for iodine if you're not going to get it from food. Okay. So the symptoms of hypothyroidism, we've all had them. Constipation, poor elimination, poor circulation, fatigue, all sorts of digestive disorders, depression, poor concentration, puffy skin, anemia, weakness. They all work hand in hand. Hypo, not hyper. Hyper would be a different remedy that we can talk about in the class. So I'm just trying to give you at least one of the remedies before class so that you understand the type of remedies that you're getting. But he also talks a lot about different remedies like electrotherapy with the violet ray. So for an updated tool for that, with electrotherapy, it used to be a specific device created in the 30s where you would literally take the violet ray device and point it towards your throat, which stimulates glandular healing really fast. You can still do that if you want, and you can envision the violet ray as a diamond. He, like me, loves the diamond codes. So you envision a triangle, spin it to the right or left, doesn't matter, in front of you, and then pull it into your throat. Got to kind of see it out in front of you for most people in order to really pull it into your throat, but just let it get closer and closer and closer. There's a reason he asks you to do that, okay? Because a lot of people can't just visualize the spinning of the diamond in their throat area. If you can, just go straight for it. But for some people, it's more powerful if you start it out as a triangle. When you exhale, the triangle moves and spins, and as it spins, it begins to look like a diamond. And then you put it here, okay? So it's violet. You have to visualize that light being violet, bright violet, almost ultraviolet, okay? So that is your unique update for electrotherapy so that you don't have to go buy an expensive Edgar Cayce device. He wants you to eat certain raw veggies at lunch: beets, apple, celery, salads with MCT oil and apple cider vinegar. For dinner, he wants you to have fish or lamb. And if you are vegan, spinach, kelp, root vegetables, kelp soup, with bone broth. And vegans, he wants you to just suck it up and eat the kelp soup with bone broth anyway. That's exactly what he said. He was like, please tell them to eat it anyway. It's very, very difficult for vegans on this planet to get the B12. Sometimes you need the bone broth to actually help you absorb it in. So just do that when you're healing, and then you don't have to do it any other time. If you don't use the vegetable broth, the bone broth, you can use vegetable broth, but it's going to take longer for you to get the same results, to get that kelp in the soup actually absorbed. And he wants you to drop all preconceived notions of that and just really listen to him on that if you want to heal. He prefers the bone broth. I know. I don't like it either, but I did it, and I was glad that I did. What else did he write down here? Insofar as emotional release and the emotional components, he had a particular way of talking about this. He said, hypothyroidism, he said it's about you feeling like you're not going to get your turn to be seen and heard on this planet as light workers. The when is it my turn theory. You begin to feel diminished, and you get quietly angry, bitter, and sour about it. So he said he needs you to develop and cultivate a more positive attitude towards yourself and others, and understanding that you have to create your turn. The world doesn't create it for you. You create your turn to be seen and heard as light workers. So he also wants you at least once a week, preferably twice a week, at the beginning of the end of the week, to do a massage on your feet with olive oil, mineral oil, oil of pine, benzoin tincture, oil of wintergreen, and sassafras root, oil of sassafras root. Okay? Those are one of the many remedies. All right? So, and for those of you who are saying, that's a lot of work, he doesn't want to hear it. If you want to get better, you're going to need to understand there's a physiological process to these remedies that you got to work through. Okay? So, enjoy it. I got to go so I can get ready to start my sessions for the day with you guys. I've been trying to show up every day to give you a little bit more tools emotionally and spiritually for what his updated remedies are, what the causes for these diseases that lightworkers have are. So it was really easy for me with these cures to get rid of the hypothyroidism. I didn't have to do it for 5 weeks. I did it for 2. So everybody's body is a little bit different. For instance, like with the other things like anatomy, like bones and ligaments, I have a harder time, but for some reason with the glands, they tend to just heal really quickly with his remedies for me. So maybe you'll get those results. Okay. So listen to this later, sit there with a recorder or pull out yourself a marker and pen and write all this down. Most lightworkers I know have struggled with either hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism at some point. So no, this was not for hyperthyroid. This was for hypothyroid. This is for low thyroid, which is the majority of most lightworkers. He said over 70% of lightworkers who are female in particular, or have strong female energy, that includes gay men that have strong female energy, that you will or have experienced that at some level. Okay. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Don't forget to sign up for the Edgar Cayce class and channeling. I'm going to teach all this to you, and then we're going to go into a trance channeling to have him work with you for your specific remedies that you might need personally. So that might be really helpful for your life. We're going to be talking about what he has been doing to address my severe, and when I say severe anemia, like my iron was 70 something and my hemoglobin was like 8 when I started doing his remedies. And in less than a week's time, they've gone up. They've gone up. I feel that they're going up, and I'll be able to confirm that with my doctor because I'm calling in to get my results today, but I already know what she's going to say. So I'm really excited about that because I did some work in between the first test and the second test. So she's probably going to say, okay, it's going up this amount, and I'm going to test you again in a week. So that was incredibly low. And I would try to come on here and work with you guys, but I was so pale and exhausted that I didn't know what to do. So I started a lot of his remedies, and I know that they'll work for you as well as they worked for me. And the fun thing is they're lasting. I did the hypothyroid remedy that remedy I did in 2018. That was a long time ago. And every time I get my thyroid tested, it comes back perfect. No matter how whatever the parameters of the test are, allopathic, naturopathic, it always comes back really, really good. So I'm really excited about that. We're going to be talking about how healers tend to have an abundance of calcium, and actually that can be a problem because your body actually isn't absorbing calcium. So that can show up as excess calcium in your hair analysis and in your labs because you're not actually absorbing it. So we're going to talk a lot about how empaths have problems with absorbency and what you can do to change that. All right. So that's going to be fun. So I'll link that up below. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.